Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul Robinson. I'm the Executive Director of RISE. We're partners with LISC on this challenge. Today, we have a special guest for this webinar, Maurice Jones, and Jay Grant will introduce Maurice in a little bit. As is usual, I just want to take a few minutes up front for a few housekeeping pieces of information here. Most of or all of the information is available on the website, and we'll end with a link and a QR code. So be ready for that. I'll let you know. And there are also recordings of previous webinars that we've made before, so you'll be able to get all that information, as well as the guideline, the applicant guidelines, and all the other documentation that are relevant here. But just to talk quickly about some of the topic areas, and some that may come up today with our guest, affordable housing is an important topic area in the four areas as shown here. Another area is economics and job security, and this is one of the topic areas where you may have the opportunity, if it fits with your capabilities, to partner with LISC on some of their financial literacy and their financial resilience programs, which is I think is a great opportunity for those folks in the appropriate areas. Also, with our partner Centara, that's a partner in this challenge, and they're actually putting up the funds for the teams and to run the challenge. We have these topic areas in health, wellness, and safety. This is an opportunity for companies to partner with Centara programs, which could be a great opportunity for a small business to get some great experience and to grow and to take advantage of the expertise in the Centara programs. And finally, obviously, environmental resilience is of great importance to us, particularly in this region here. The crossover, this challenge is all about the crossover between economic resilience and climate or environmental resilience, as we've seen many times in the past, that those more vulnerable communities tend to get stressed quicker during environmental or climate events like snowstorm or heat or a flood. And just another mention that we are looking for companies to relate their products and their solutions to a couple of very important metrics: the Social Vulnerability Index and the Climate and Economic Justice Screening Tool mentioned here. There is more information on the website. There's also a webinar I recorded that helps walk you through how you would look at your solution in regards to the different parameters that go to make up these two indices, because you will be asked that in your submission, and those companies that are invited to take the next step and pitch to us and maybe even implement their programs will have to be closely aligned with these parameters and the metrics as we'll want to track that. So we'll also be looking for a business plan at for evaluation and project work plan and approach. And again, that's all detailed on the website. The timeline, as always, we are now in middle of May. We will be having informational webinars. We've got one or two more to do after this one. We will be closing the submission. The submission deadline is June 6th, 2 p.m. No excuses that 2 p.m. is a hard deadline. July 5th will be when we will be announcing finalists, and those finalists will be asked to submit additional documentation for pitch to the committee, and that's due July 19th. August 2nd is when we will announce our shortlisted finalists, those who will be finally invited to pitch the judging committee, and we'll have these pitches in August. And by September 1, we'll be able to announce our winners. So that's the timeline. Again, more details. This is your website to go to with a QR code. So please go to that. And if you have any questions, send a message through the website, and we will answer as quickly as possible. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, and I'll hand it over to Jay for today's webinar. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Robinson, and Jay Grant here with LISC, Hampton Roads Local Initiative Support Corporation. It gives me great pleasure this afternoon to introduce Maurice Jones, serving as new CEO of the Center for First Generational Student Success. So as Paul said, Maurice, we thank you for your time with us, and let's jump right into it. How do economic and job security influence the overall well-being of a community from your perspective? And what types of programs do you see create the most meaningful and lasting impact?
Good to be with you, Jay. Thanks for what you and the LISC folks are doing, and I'm happy to be joining you here. So look, economic and job security are intimately tied to the overall health of any community. At the end of the day, the most important asset that every community has are the people in that community. And the people, among other things, need economic security. They need job security. They need jobs that enable them to earn a living wage, pay their bills, save money for education, for housing, enable their children to go to school. And they need good jobs that pay good wages, and they need economic security in order to do these things. And a community's fate or trajectory is dependent upon the people's ability to feel in a good place in all of those things. And so the kinds of programs that you're seeing, obviously, you need 3 or 4 things in every community for this sort of economic security, job security, and mobility of community, right? You need adequate, safe, and sufficient housing that people can afford, right? You need these great jobs that pay a living wage, that enable people to get promoted and experience wage and other increases. You need community assets like healthy food that's accessible and recreation facilities. You need financial institutions so people can borrow money when they need. And you need connections, right? A community needs to be connected, not segregated by race, not segregated by class. You need this connection, you need this proximity. And programs that are advancing these things are programs that are working in places that are going places. And so a long-winded way of saying the connection between economic and job security and the mobility of a community and programs that promote those things, the connection is 1-to-1, no doubt about it.
Wow, Maurice, that was you had so much right there packed into one response. It reminds me of terminologies that we're using increasingly community resilience and thinking holistically. It really, job security and everything connected with that really is so connected to housing and so many other attributes. I love how you connected the notion of access to fresh foods and so much more, access to financial institutions. So, Maurice, in your experience, how can innovation play a role in bolstering job security? So staying and going back to job security, how does innovation play a role in bolstering job security at the community level? And
Yeah.
do you have any examples of any small businesses or nonprofits that help to create these types of meaningful and innovative change?
Yeah. So let me give you, and this is not a small nonprofit; it's a big nonprofit. Um, I'm aware of a big healthcare enterprise, not in Virginia actually, um, that decided that they wanted to um, they wanted to make sure that more people from the community got access to their jobs, to their good jobs. And Traditionally, what that would mean, frankly, would be advertising jobs in different places so that populations that were not seeing these ads would see them and apply. But that's not innovation. What this healthcare center did was it decided to hold career fairs in the communities that it was trying to attract employees from. And so on Saturday and Sunday, in these communities, people from the human resources arena went out and talked to people in their communities about the jobs that they wanted to fill, about the skills that they were looking for. And they interviewed folks and they made offers on the spot. And as a result, they ended up hiring people who they hadn't been hiring. And in most cases, these were people who were living in communities of color into great jobs, and they built a better brand and more trust with communities who had been there for generations and felt like, frankly, the healthcare enterprise just didn't see them. Now, that's an innovation that had a direct impact on a community, a direct impact in getting talent that they were missing, and a direct impact on a relationship that could spawn benefits for years to come. I will tell you that there are big roles for nonprofits to play in this kind of work. One is nonprofits can help people get ready for jobs, training, wraparound supports, um, helping with resume writing. They can also help bridge this gap between employers and communities that don't have a trusting relationship. And they can do that with small employers, medium sized and large employers. But nonprofits have this ability to be both a service provider, but also a convener of folks who in the same city may live in different worlds.
That's so powerful. So a lot of times in the workforce development fields, you hear about in small business as well, access to capital is a huge gap. And what I'm hearing from you there also is just access to the right people. Access to information is a huge gap, and
Oh yeah.
that's profound in terms of bringing that information, bringing the personnel, the resources to the community. Sounds profoundly impactful. So speaking about connecting the community, what part does community engagement play in terms of long-term resilience? And do you have any suggestions on what works, what doesn't work in that realm?
So look, you you will not you will not maximize community resilience without community engagement. Because the bottom line here is that at the end of the day, um, resilience is about the people, and the people in the communities. It's goes back to the kinds of things that we're talking about, which is, are people living in quality, affordable housing? Are people aware of the risk um, to them and their families of sea level rise and um, uh, things in the home that need to be updated when it comes to being more green, if you will, or energy efficient, or um, things like mold in the home. And you've got to engage the community with respect to resilience. And you've got to have an inclusive engagement of the community so you're getting all of the truth if you're really going to have um, inclusive, expansive resilience across the board. And so I would tell you that you have to have community engagement to be great at resilience. And there are a number of ways that you see nonprofits and others engage in the community. One is just holding forums and convenings that allow the community to receive information and allow the community to transmit information on their priorities, on their experiences, etc. But also setting up, frankly, organizations that have authority to make decisions that include people from all communities that can be impacted in the power structure. You've got to make sure that the community is in the power structure if you're going to have resilience and engagement and sustainability and trust.
And not to make this sound easy, but truthfully, is community engagement difficult, even if you proactively as an organization engage the community? Is it difficult?
So it's a great question. So here's what I tell you. It is more difficult not to have it. Community engagement does require folks to have a mindset that's not transactional. It does require people to be comfortable in proximity to the communities and with the communities that you're trying to engage. It does require building a relationship. It does require understanding the history of the community. I'll never forget when I was doing economic development with LISC. I was given a tour of a community by the economic development officials of that city. And then I was given a tour of the community by a community development corporation working in that community. You would have thought that I was in two different cities. The economic development folks highlighted for me some of the real assets and the things that they were planning to do. the community development people highlighted for me where the Black residents had been displaced as a result of gentrification and a highway that had been dividing the community. And if you don't come to a community with a real curiosity about the history and the experience of the people in that community, you won't win the trust. You won't win the minds and the hearts and souls that you need to have true, long-lasting community engagement. So you need humility, you need curiosity, you need a relationship, you need proximity, you need a lot of love.
That's powerful. And like folks often say in church, that didn't happen here. That must have been outside of Virginia. I'll say that we can leave that one alone. Now,
I'm not going. My counsel has advised me not to respond to that comment.
Good response. And so, Maurice, if there are outsiders, let's say you do have an organization that maybe is not so familiar with a particular community or a neighborhood that they're working with. I mean, it could be an organization from within the same region or same city, but maybe hasn't done work in a particular neighborhood. Do you have any advice for such an organization as to how to connect with that neighborhood? Mm-hmm.
I would counsel that organization to, as quickly as possible, put together an advisory group of folks from the community in which they want to work, and make sure it's a representative group of folks, and spend some time getting schooled by those folks. Secondly, I would, in fact, counsel that group to, hey, on Saturday and Sunday, walk around those communities. See what it's like to be in the community. Make friends with folks that you meet just spontaneously. But seek advice, seek relationships. This is all about relationships at the end of the day. Seek advice, seek relationships, but put together a group that does have relationships, that does have knowledge of what it's like in that community, and rely on that group. Rely on that group's advice to tell you what the right strategy or strategies ought to be.
Great. And sticking just a little bit more on that subject matter as a follow-up, do you have any suggestions for areas, thinking Hampton Roads or thinking anywhere where you've worked, that need addressing, let's say, in affordable housing and or employment? How would you as an organization coming in, how would you engage the community in some of these areas of need? Let's say if they're environmental needs, or if there are, you mentioned earlier, and Paul mentioned some of the social and other vulnerabilities. Any experience with engaging communities, in particular underserved communities, in some of these areas that might not be top of mind for residents who might be, just, living a day-to-day existence, but they are suffering from a lot of these impacts, suffering from lack of access to fresh foods. How do you engage a community to get from them the solution, get towards those solutions that are needed, in particular, again, when they're not even potentially thinking about those issues?
Look, I think there are a number of ways. Let me just give you one suggestion, right? Look, we know that there are 4 or 5 levers that a community needs to be hitting on all 8 cylinders to be great, right? We know housing and small business. We know access to capital. We know these community assets like health and fresh foods. We know quality jobs and great wages, right? We know these things are wealth producing. One way to think about this is do some homework beforehand, right? Plot access to banking services, right? Get information from public sources on the access to fresh foods, and the proximity of those things, so that you come to the table with 2 or 3 real items that you know are, at least you have a plausible hypothesis that they are areas that need improvement, that need people to work on, and engage folks directly on these concrete issues, right? Down payment assisting for housing, or how you help people get a credit history, or what to do to help people get skills for jobs that you know are growing in the community, or mentorship opportunities for sole proprietor. Come to folks with some sense that you've done some homework, and so they know that you really care about this stuff, and engage them on 2 to 3 specific things that the data show can change the game if you improve them. That's what I would counsel folks to do.
Wonderful. And to the audience, if you have any questions of Maurice, feel free to put those into the chat or Q&A as we're coming to a close. Maurice, I have one final question for you, which is really a summary question. What key lessons have you learned about building economic resilience in underserved communities that inform how much you approach future strategies?
I think 2 lessons I would point out to you. First, it's a team sport. Economic resilience is not one thing. There is no one thing that will sustain, engender economic resilience. You have to focus on the housing. You have to focus on the jobs. You have to focus on access to capital. You have to focus on health. You have to focus on all of these. And you have to do it, yes, all at the same time, because they all support one. Secondly, it means that there is no one sector that can produce economic resilience. It means you need health, you need education, you need government, you need nonprofits, you need the faith community. You need them all to be working in concert, which leads me to my last point. Trust is the most important currency for economic resilience. The multiple parties have to build a trusting relationship amongst them and with the members of the community, that can withstand the highs and the lows of the journey. And you have to invest in generating and sustaining trust. Those would be the lessons that, for me, are some of the more powerful ones that I've seen over the few years I've been doing this.
Those were some golden nuggets. Thank you so much, Maurice. I will turn the mic back to Dr. Paul Robinson for any final remarks. And again, I thank the audience. I want to thank Centera Health for sponsoring this challenge, the Community Resilience Innovation Challenge, and of course, our partners, Rise Resilience. So any final comments or anything you needed to say, Dr. Paul Robinson?
So I just want to thank Maurice. Thank you for those words. We have, I think they were very helpful. We get very focused on the solutions and sometimes lose sight of the implementation. And this challenge is all about success of this challenge is all about implementing and working with the communities, and that's the pathway to success. So, Maurice, thank you very much for your thoughts and your guidance on that. Very helpful, very important, and thank you everyone for taking the time to be on this. This webinar is recorded and it'll be on the website. So thank you all again. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.